I'll start with a brief introduction of myself and then start the discussion we have today. My name is Chinedum Ikeagu, and I'm Nigerian by birth, and I'm still Nigerian, and I love the place. I'm currently employed within the energy sector, and I'm part of the leadership board for Life Beyond Disability, which is the organization you all belong to. In one way or the other, we're all one team and we're all one family. We'll be talking about the essentials of leadership. And what I want to talk to you about is value-based leadership. Some of the concepts you'll be hearing today will be things you already know. And some of the concepts will be things that you probably haven't heard of or do not even know about at all. And the reason I've designed it that way is to start from the known to the unknown, and also to sensitize some level of curiosity within you to push you to learn and learn more. All right, that said, the highlights we'll be looking at today will be leader. How do you define a leader? Who is a leader? And we'll be talking more on ethics, which is what I believe in strongly. And I want to discuss on the ethic pathway to be able to throw very good light on the concept of leadership for an individual and for an organization. We'll talk about pathways to moral disengagement and how to develop reputation for ethics, and also to embed ethics in our humanistic relationship, which is our daily conduct and our life with everyone. Now, I have a way that I have defined leader. And if you look at that word, I actually coined this some years back as a pseudonym to help me understand leadership. So simply put, I say leader. Let every action determine effective result. Let every action determine effective result. I could actually spend 30 minutes talking about the slide alone. You will notice the way I have intentionally designed that slide is that every leadership thought, every leadership action must be such that it represents a progressive pathway for growth. And that's why every word is on a different step and the result is at the topmost. So in whatever thing you do in your daily conduct, if you tell yourself that you are a leader, the responsibility you owe yourself is to let every action you take determine effective results. Does anybody have a counter or alternate definition for leader? And I would like to hear you. Is there anyone who would like to, tell us who a leader is? Let me put it that way. Who is a leader to you?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, this is Noni Hamel from Cameroon.
Yeah, Nini, go ahead.
Yes, to me, a leader is somebody who can work corporately with people under him, who can well organized, and who can understand his or her subordinates.
Okay.
And lead a team to achieve a particular goal depending on the context.
That's very good. So what I hear you is that a leader organizes, a leader has subordinates, we would actually say followers or report line. Any other definition?
Yes, can I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
This is Harrison from Cameroon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Harrison.
For me, a leader is someone who is able to organize a group of people or bring together a group of people who have different ideas, and the leader coordinate them, and he is able to lead them to achieve a particular purpose. And the leader is also able to listen to them and take their own suggestions into consideration for the good of the entire group. Thank you.
That's very good. Thank you, Harrison. That's well noted. And leader can be either good or bad. And if I go to the extreme, most of us here are Africans. Whenever the word devil is mentioned, you begin to think of a very mundane, evil person. The devil is also a leader. True or false?
True.
So the devil leads a bad cause. All right. I'll go to the next. I also know that I have about 45 minutes to deliver this conversation with you. I'll try as much as I can not to make it very boring. At least we've all started well by enjoying the Kahoot game, which sets the pace for a good afternoon. There are core competencies that you need to have to be able to lead effectively. And I want to highlight that goal setting is very, very important. You wouldn't understand how much of impact goal setting makes for a leader until you don't have one. Delegation, there is no true leader, who can do it all alone. You must have people whom you have to make assignments to help you achieve the goals you have set. And there is need for decision making, communication, time management, problem solving, and relationship building. Leadership is not an easy task at all. And that's why you can look around you and some people are not just getting it right. Not just in Africa, but also elsewhere in the world. To be able to make decisions, you must have enough information and trusted parties to guide you in that decision making as a leader. And imagine how people communicate. Sometimes they communicate wrongly. And as a leader, if your communication is not at par with average, you're already failing. So your communication must be such that you're able to convince, you're able to persuade, you're able to influence. We're able to also move people to the direction of a goal that was set. Now, being able to solve problems is one attribute of a good leader, and building relationship, both with those who agree with you and with those who do not agree with you, is a good skill to have. Now, I told you that leadership can be good or bad. Sometimes it's borderline. You're not exactly sure if this is good or if that is bad. But when I gave you the example of the devil, you could easily picture a bad leader. And if I talk about Jesus, like some of us here might believe, or talk about Muhammad, some of you here might also believe, you're seeing a good and very ethical leader. Now, those are two ends of the spectrum. The devil, and the prophets, whom you know, are ethical leaders. What do ethical leadership involve? Because that is the domain that we want to achieve, but we're not talking about religious terms now in our daily life. It would take having respect for others, serving others, which is the right thing to do, showing justice, exhibiting honesty, and then building a community. You can see how empathic these words are. When you have respect, you serve, you show justice, exhibit honesty, and then you build a community. And that community is actually an inclusive community. Now, to build a community and make this happen, you need trust. And trust is a result of multiple actions and some characteristics. We often say that trust is deposited as bank deposits. So you have what you call your trust deposit. So every action that you take, every behavior that you exhibit in your domain is a deposit in the trust bank. And it takes one withdrawal, just one withdrawal, to erode those deposits. For trust to happen, there are up to four multiple actions, which was described in the in a book written by Richard Barrett. It's actually an article that he wrote in 2014, and he said the first is intent. What do you have in mind? Because these are basic elements of ourselves. What's your intention? Do you have caring intention, openness, transparency? The next is integrity. Being honest, fair, and authentic. The other is capability, having the skill, the knowledge, and the experience. And this is where you have a lot of work to do. By your moral compass, you can also wish and say, yes, I have a good intention. I'm a person of integrity, but do I have the skills required? Do I have the knowledge required? Do I have the experience to build those capabilities? And then the results. When your result is effective, you have reputation, you have credibility, and the performance will be significant. And this is when people will say, yes, I trust this person because he can do it. So if you can think about intent, integrity, capability, and result, that's the multiple actions that's needed to be able to build trust. Now, like I said, there are two domains, just in case you think those four are too hard for you to get together. The two I's first is the why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Or why do you want to do what you're doing? That describes the intent and the integrity. The other pathways is the how, which is the capability and the results. Like I said before, the reason you're here is to be able to build capability, to learn, to gain knowledge. And of course, by putting your knowledge to practice, it becomes a skill. And when you use your skill over time, it becomes an experience. And someone can say, yes, I can speak for Harrison. I can speak for Phil. Yes, he has credibility and he will perform. And that's how trust is built. Now, there was a case which I will share with you later. And like I said, that trust is like a bank deposit. When you make one withdrawal from your trust bank, you lose everything. In these multiple actions, if you lose one element of it, you will lose trust. Remember the company Volkswagen. If you all remember some years back, Volkswagen had a problem because they were reporting their emission results falsely, and the CEO was in the middle of that conversation. He actually knew what Volkswagen was doing. This is a company with great engineering, and they had secure jobs, and they were increasing their production volume. Their intent was good. Integrity was flawed. Capability was there because they have great engineering. Their results were good also because it was performing and was returning money to the shareholders. But guess what? Integrity was flawed, and just one element of dishonesty pulled down the company at that particular incident. Yes, they are trying to recover from it, but people paid great prices for a dishonest report. And I'll tell you more about that case as we go further. Now, the case I want to take up with you was a case called Dieselgate. And I want to use this as an example to always connect you back to ethical leadership and say to you once again, let every action determine effective results. Let every action determine effective results. So in 2005, Volkswagen was manipulating their emissions using a software. You would think this is technology in use. You would say it is Tech Plus. Now, this decision was made by the engine development department. Another company, Bosch, sent a written warning saying that the use of that software was illegal. And the CEO then, Martin Winterkorn, didn't think it was right for him to take action. He insisted that he didn't know about the manipulation device. So what the software does is, when it measures the emissions, it will use mathematics to calculate the wrong data and put the emission data for Volkswagen at a very acceptable rate. And people who are sustainability minded would say, yes, the emission from Volkswagen engines are quite low and they make sales. Guess what? This manipulation, upon completion of the case, Volkswagen was held to pay $15 billion in the US alone. And in 2019, German prosecutors pressed charges against the former CEO, Winterkorn, for not reporting and ending the practice when he learned about it in 2014. Now, think about this. Even though he said he didn't know in 2016, and 3 years after 2019, his sins were still following him. He lost his job, lost his reputation, and it was a well-known case. You might say this is a CEO, but in your little corner, where you lead a family, where you lead a business, or where you lead yourself, how many times have you told yourself lies? How many times have you believed that the things you do are right, even though you know they are not right? How many times have you given your words and you've broken it? Yes, we all make mistakes, but are we able to stand to say, yes, I made a mistake, I am sorry? and take the consequences. And this is where ego comes in. And some leaders often would not do very well with this. And it takes a few leaders to be ethically minded to do the right thing at the right time. Now, what I want to talk to you about, like I said before, is that when somebody is on that pathway as a leader and you don't take ethics as a core to what you do, you begin to become morally disengaged. And you would have seen moral disengagement once this morning where we did the Kahoot, and there was something about moral justification. Let me say, you'll be playing another Kahoot at the end of the day, and there is a prize to be won. And that prize would come from me. So I'll need you to listen and listen very well, because most of the questions will be coming from where we are right now. I won't tell you what the prize is yet, but wait for it. It's one that will make you delighted.
No, it's okay.
All right. Yeah. So with your microphone still on mute, I'll discuss 3 steps where you can see somebody could be morally disengaged. And the steps 1 to 3, which is a moral justification, euphemistic labeling, and advantageous comparison, is a pathway where somebody who is doing something wrong, who is doing what you call a misbehavior or unethical behavior, they try to restructure that unethical behavior to make it appear less harmful. How do you define moral justification? It is when someone feels that he gives, an excuse to support a misbehavior and bases that on a moral, just like somebody would do something wrong and say, my pastor told me, or you heard it in church, or you know that something you're doing is wrong and you say, in my culture, it is acceptable. Even though on a global spectrum of things, it's not right. So the other one is euphemism. Euphemistic labeling is an attempt where somebody uses good words to describe something that is unethical. I don't know which word would come to my mind very quickly. And it's very common. It's very common. If people take bribes and they are corrupt, instead of saying this is a bribe and it's a corrupt practice, they say it's only a gift. Or they say it's an enablement fee. Or they say it's a participation fee or engagement fee. But of the truth, it's bribe and it is corrupt practice. However you call it, what is unethical is unethical. And then the other one is the advantageous comparison. And what happens in advantageous comparison is when you try to make yourself to be in a positive state compared to something else that is worse. I give you an example. Let's say this is not you. Mr. A kills a man and he's being judged for, okay, he stabs somebody with a knife. Mr. A stabs somebody with a knife. And when he's held, he says it was just a knife stab. After all, Hitler killed XYZ number of people. Or after all, Mr. B shot this person with a gun and nothing happened. He thinks that his stabbing is more of an advantage than the person who has shot another person. But this is on the extreme. If you think about it, when you're giving your gifts or giving bribes, and you're caught for giving $1, and you say it's only $1. I know my manager gave $100 and nothing happened to him. Why is my dollar gift becoming a problem? But the fact is that unethical behavior is an unethical behavior, irrespective of how much of advantage you think you have. Now, the other pathway, which is a system that tries to minimize the victim's distress. So for you, when you commit an unethical behavior, instead of saying this is wrong, like the Volkswagen case, you could try to distort the consequences. And that's what Volkswagen did. They make it look like the consequence is not high, and then they downplayed it. So distortion of consequences is a pathway where a morally disengaged person makes the impact of their misbehavior to look less than it actually appears. And this is very bad. Another path to minimizing the victim's distress is dehumanization. You try to dehumanize the other person to place yourself in a better standing as a human being. We do this always in our daily lives without being conscious of it. Imagine for an employer of a domestic worker who tries to make the domestic worker live in a condition that is less than human, and then giving an excuse that she's being paid for the work she's to do, and after all, she's a housekeeper. Yes, she's a housekeeper, or he's a housekeeper, but he equally or she equally deserves the right as a human being and not to be put in a dehumanized state. So that's just a quick example. I'm trying to draw on examples that will be close to your heart. And I know so many of you would have different types of example. Now, the other part is the what could be displacement of responsibility or diffusion of responsibility and attribution of blame. What happens here is the individual who is morally disengaged tries to obscure the moral agency and accountability. So, because delegation is a good attribute of a leader, that leader could displace his responsibility to his subordinate and say, it is my vice that took the decision, or say, it is my manager that told me to do this, or my father advised me to do that, so I'm not responsible. It could also be an action that the individual has taken a decision, and instead of owning up and being accountable, he would diffuse it and say it is the team that formed this idea, or it's an agency, an external agency, so it's really not my fault. The other one is the attribution of blame. Instead of owning up as a leader to take accountability and responsibility for an action that has gone wrong within your domain, you look for a scapegoat, and usually one who is helpless and cannot defend himself. So moral disengagement is something you have to watch out for and stay guided and guarded in your path as you're building yourself as a leader. Always question, as I walk towards letting every action determine an effective result, Am I being ethically conscious? Am I being morally engaged or morally disengaged? Now, I'll talk to you about two pillars of ethical leadership. And one of you might say, I'm a moral person. Another might say, I'm a moral manager. But having a moral person and having a moral manager are two different things. However, a combination of the two can actually be a good reputation for ethical leadership. So the question is, are you a moral person? I could hear your heart saying, yes, I am a moral person. Because you know right and wrong. However, when the test is put on you and push comes to shove, do you still maintain your morality? You might think you are moral, but how do others perceive you? So your view of your morality is different from the way others will perceive you. People would usually look at three things: your traits, behaviors, and then your decision making at the other end. And traits are characters like integrity, honesty, trustworthiness. Can you say, yes, I'm a person of integrity, I'm honest, I can be trusted? Now, this moves to the behaviors that are guided by the traits. Do you do the right thing? Do you have a concern for people? How is your moral compass as an individual? And are you open like a glass, or are you opaque like a mirror, which can only show what is shown it, but when you go to the other side, nothing else is seen? In your decision making as an individual, do you follow ethical decision rules? Do you have a concern for your society? Are you objective and fair? And do you hold the right values? So these traits, behavior, and decision-making pathways are things you need to watch out for and gauge to ask yourself always, are you a moral person? Now, I put this slide here intentionally. It's a bit heavy, but you have leaders who deliver and you have leaders who destroy. And I don't want to go back to the earlier example I gave, but I'll still mention it. If you're giving an example between the devil and any of the prophets that you know, Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha, you can easily classify them into two pathways, depends on what you believe. And again, if some of you are working or you live in family, you can choose to say who is the leader that delivers and who is the one that destroys. So a leader that delivers will share maximum information. They use their power mindfully and vigilantly. On the other side, the one that destroys would use power thoughtlessly. A leader that delivers will create conditions for motivation to flourish. The other part, the destroyer will use pressure, fear, and hierarchy to motivate. A good leader that delivers will be obsessed with performance and results. They will stamp on bad behavior, whatever the result. They say no to bad behavior. But one that destroys would support bad behavior and say it's okay. And then they see the results from a very myopic point of view. A good leader, the one that delivers, will review the wins and losses equally with passion and discipline and adjust the goals in any direction to ensure they are motivating. On the other hand, the one that destroys will be looking for more wins, and then will question failures. And they can only even make the goals harder to feel you motivated. But sometimes that doesn't yield the results. The leader that delivers will continue to talk endlessly about responsibility and accountability, and they're mindful when they use their power. On the other hand, the one who destroys would talk about accountability. They are accountable, they are accountable, they are accountable, but they do it in a very hard way. And then they use fright and fear to make people work because they are frightened of losing their power. Now, the last part here is that a leader who delivers would understand politics, but the one who destroys is political. Think about it. Understanding politics is different from being political. So while you're being guided in building your leadership pathways, think about which of these you want to be. Now, having talked about the moral person, the next question is, are you a moral manager? Are you a moral manager? Some of you might say, I'm not a manager yet, I'm still learning. But in the little domain in your person, you as a person, how do you manage yourself? How do you manage the little things that have been committed to you? How do you manage your time? So when we say manager, it's not just a man who has responsibility of persons or resources or individuals or company accounts. No. Start from yourself, because you need to get it right with yourself first before you get it right with others. And I would say being a moral manager is not exactly what you think. I have put this matrix here to guide us on which path that is actually better or suitable for us to be in. Maybe you're already seeing yourself in one of the boxes, but being moral is not good enough if no one knows it. And that's why I said in the beginning that you might think of yourself as a moral entity. However, when other people see you, they have a perception of you. Now, if you are moral, don't tell anyone. So having these two aspects of moral person and a moral manager, we'll try to create a box. I mean, box is 4 domains. You could find yourself to be a hypocritical leader, to find yourself to be an ethical leader, or unethical leader, and sometimes you're neutral, perhaps indifferent. The domain to be in, to be a strong moral manager and a morally strong person. That's what you need to be an ethical leader. But if you have weak morality as an individual and you have very weak morality as a manager, unethical leadership will be your domain, and that's not where you want to be. So think about this. Where are you today in these boxes? It could also be that you're a moral manager. You want to do it right, and you're guided by the KPIs or the demands of your organization, but your moral compass as an individual is weak. Then that's hypocritical, and you need to work on it. So whatever you do, let every action determine your effective result. Move on to ethical leadership. Now, there is another trait for the humanistic leader, and we'll be talking about responsibility, communication, vision, fairness, growth, and role model. Don't forget, I told you I'll be taking you slowly from soft landing, the easy things you know, onto the path of the things you don't know that would help propel your curiosity to search and to learn more. So we'll talk about responsibility, how to put it into practice. Be honest and reliable. Do not betray the trust. Allow bottom-up feedback channels. Hear from the people under you. They see sometimes what you do not see because they are closer to the ground. In communication, play close to every change communication. When things change, discuss it. When things are not the way they used to be, discuss it and communicate over and over and over and keep communicating. Have a vision. Paint an appealing picture of the journey. That's the goal. Offer the inspiring vision and give yourself and your team a greater goal. When you have an idea and you're able to create a picture of that vision and you offer inspiration, people will follow. Then be fair. Be fair to distribute work to your downside equally. Offer clear explanations with your team, with yourselves, and treat everyone with dignity, including yourself. In growth, involve your team, involve yourselves, involve your employees. For those of you who are employed in one way or the other, support them. Support them, support your colleague. Then learn to nurture a mistake as learning opportunity. Let that culture be there. People must not be penalized for making mistakes. Then be a role model. As a role model, you have to practice what you preach. And make sure the people you have people who challenge your opinion. Don't be a master of it all. Be willing to make great sacrifices. Now, that's what it takes to be a humanistic leader. And putting it in practice is what matters most. Now, I would take you back. Remember the Volkswagen CEO, Martin Winterkorn. He actually would openly criticize and shame his staff. He would measure the gap between the doors of a Volkswagen car, and if it is not exact clearance, he would publicly chastise the person involved. Staff started hiding the mistakes. On the diesel emission scandal, investigation showed that he was aware of the tweaked algorithm, which is the software to cheat emission tests. Now, which type of leader is Martin and why? That's the answer. Martin was an unethical leader and he paid the price for that. Now, let's go to another person. For some of you who must have followed history and friends, there's a guy called Lord John Brown. He was a former CEO of BP, and he presided over the firm during the Texas City refinery explosion, which killed 15 people, and many people were injured, and 2 big oil spills in Alaska. That means a lot. Safety incidents in oil and gas are big issues. Now, before the incident, he had launched a $200 million project called Beyond Petroleum. And the campaign was to promote BP's image as highly socially responsible, promising to deliver performance with safety and environmental trade-offs. Now, the regulators, operators, and employees cited cost-cutting on safety and negligence in pipeline operation prevention as for these incidents. Imagine that a leader had voted $200 million as a campaign money for the BP's image to show BP as a socially responsible company, promising to deliver performance with safety and environmental trade-offs. But under him, 15 people died in a refinery explosion, and 2 big oil spills happened in Alaska. So, what type of leader do you think Lord John is and why?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the name?
He's a hypocritical leader.
Let's see, hypocritical leader. And who got that?
Thomas Spencer from Cameroon, sir.
Oh, the Cameroonians are leading. That is it, Thomas Spencer?
Tawang Spencer from Cameroon.
How about that person? This person is at the wheel. He presided over the firm during a time it was described as a blockbuster money machine, but also at a time of multiple scandals. Under him, Citigroup had helped Enron hide their debt. The regulator had listed a long series of transgressions, including money laundering, sales of unsuitable product to customers, and sloppy business practices. Now, Sandy Wales' public statement was, company is too big to micromanage. So, which type of leader is Will and why? Somebody willing to take the chance?
Yes, that is unethical leader.
Okay.
Hello.
You think he's unethical leader?
Yes, because the reason they are only focusing on making profit and hiding their debt so that they will not be able to do what pay people.
Okay. So who is speaking? Who's saying this, please?
Alidu from Ghana.
Alidu from Ghana. Do we have any other opinion, please?
Okay.
Please, me, Dede from Ghana.
Okay, go ahead, Dede from Ghana. What do you think?
Yeah, please, is hypocrite, hypocritical leader.
He's a hypocritical leader. So we have two.
Yeah.
Somebody from Cameroon says he's unethical. Dede from Ghana says he's hypocritical. Have any other?
No.
Please, we are all Ghanaians.
Okay, so sorry, so those are two Ghanaians. All right. Who else? Any other response before we go to the answer?
Yeah,
so I would say the guy is ethically dura or silent leader.
Oh, he is ethically neutral or a silent leader. I will stop there and say yes, that's who he is. You know, he tried to play diffusion of responsibility somehow. He said the company is too big to micromanage. He is a leader, but he's saying company is too big to micromanage. He was playing it neutral. That's not a good pathway to be on. Now let's look at Leila Jana. Leila Jana was the former CEO and founder of a company called Samatos, who sought to increase initiatives targeted at the original founding vision of moving people out of poverty via access to work opportunities and technological skills. Now, the board chair didn't agree with that strategy. She threatened the board that she would step down as the company's leader if she would not be able to see her goals for the company come through. I want to read back for you to see what Leila Jana did. Okay? The vision of the company was moving people out of poverty, using access to work opportunities and technological skills. I think this is close to what LBD does, Life Beyond Disability. Yeah? Providing you with tech education and sessions like this to be able to have the skills for work and also be able to come out of or improve your lifestyle and not be stuck in poverty. I'm not saying you're all in poverty, but just a cliche there. Now, which type of leader do you think Leila is and why? Leila Jana. I should have Leila there.
Sir, please, Dede
Ethical
from
leader. Ethical leader.
ethical leader.
Ethical leader.
Yeah.
Wow, everybody thinks she's ethical.
Yes.
Ethical leader.
Yes, she's
Yes.
ethical. Okay, great. What I want to do is to just take you back to where we started and discuss the things that we have learned, because sometimes it's good when you've been on a journey, look back and see where you've started. We started small by saying, let every action determine effective results. and that's leader. And we went to discuss about the need to have a goal, the need to delegate, to make decisions, to communicate, manage your time, solve problems, and build relationships. And for the ethical leader, we talked about need for respect for others, intent for service, showing justice, exhibiting honesty, and building a community. And this draws us close to what we had, the Layla lady who disagreed with the board and continued to speak the truth to build the vision of the company. And we talked about trust, intent, integrity, capability, and results. Intent and integrity being the why, the capability and result being the how. The capability is what you are building here today. And the intent and integrity is what you have in you as your moral compass. We discussed the Volkswagen Dieselgate issue, talked about the mechanisms for moral disengagement, things that you should avoid. These ones will restructure unethical behavior to make it appear less harmful. The other two would minimize the victim's distress. And some try to obscure the moral agency and accountability. The place I gave you a task to do is think about yourself on the moral compass that you have and how others perceive you. Your traits, behaviors, and decision-making. Do the right thing, hold values, stay trustworthy. And I gave you this example of the leader who delivers and the one who destroys. We talked about moral manager, and this was where it got interesting. And then we talked about examples of hypocritical leader, ethical leader, unethical leader, and perhaps the neutral leader who is indifferent. I believe that the examples that we gave was able to instill the right learning for us. And the traits for humanistic behavior, being responsible, communicating, having a vision, using fairness, growth mindset, and being a role model. Having said this, I'd want to thank all of you for listening to me. I know it's been a long conversation this morning, but I would give you time, like the moderator said, to ask questions, please. So if you have any questions to ask, feel free to bring it on.
Please, I wish to ask if you can give more insight on the moral aspect. You just mentioned moral. I know everyone has another different definition of morality. So when you talk about moral leadership or morality, please, sir, can you, in your own terms, in a broader view, when it comes to leadership, I am begging that you should throw more light on that, more insight. It means to be moral, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that question, Tawan. Remember, in the presentation we gave today, I asked if you're a moral person. And it's a very subjective topic because what you see yourself as is different from the way people see you. However, in the slide that we had today, we try to compare the viewpoints, what are the traits, what are the behavior, because everybody would say, I am moral. Because of your cultural bias, you might be moral. For example, people from different cultures will have their definition of morality. So also with people from the same culture, different religion, they might have a different definition for morality. But the question is, if you think you're moral, how do others see you? And those three parts ways we discussed. We talked about the traits, we talked about behavior, and then we talked about your decision making. Now, this is also subjective because I'm trying to pull subjects that are globally diverse in terms of behavior pathways. Integrity is not questionable in any culture. Honesty is not questionable, and trustworthiness is not questionable. If you have these three traits, you are already beginning. So your words count for you. When you say something, you mean what you say. You can be trusted. Now, when you have that disposition, how do you behave? Do you do the right thing? Do you have a concern for people? Are you being open in your conversations and actions? And then that's your personal morality is questionable. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Let's do the last 1 minute. Let's take that quickly because I want to give out a gift.
All right, sir.
This is the LBD final, and I would start it now. So you do the same thing you did. Try to log in. It's going to be few questions. Eight people participating. All right, let's Kahoot.
I'm trying to join.
Okay, you're trying to join. If you see QR code, it will take you to the same place. Just put the number in 0372 262 0372. Let's Kahoot. Let's go. I'm going start. All right. For those of you, this is the LBD. 3, 2, 1. It's a quiz, a process by a person who is evaluating a morally questionable act is a process whereby a person who is evaluating a morally questionable act attempt to make it seem right. What do you call that? Okay. We go to the next. Teresa is leading. Governor following and Felix, number 3. Let's go. Number 2, using euphemistic language to describe reprehensible conduct. Pure label, compelling euphemism, euphemistic labeling, language conduct. 9, 8, 7, 5, 3, 1, go. Okay. It's euphemistic labeling. 3 people got that right. And who is leading? Gomina from Abuja. Teresa following, and Phil number 3. You got 3 more questions to be the winner today. Comparing one's transgressions with worse behaviors committed by others. When you're comparing your sins with the sin of others that you believe to be worse than yours. Advantage sin, advantageous comparison, committed behavior, moral compass. Time up, advantageous comparison. 2 people got that right. And Teresa takes the lead. Gomina back second. We go to the next Kahoot. This occurs when harmful results of actions and practices are ignored, minimized, distorted, or disbelieved. Distortion of consequences, harmful results, unbelievable, doubtful omission. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, one. Distortion of consequences. Let's go. And who is Asia maintains the lead. Gomina is following, and NASA is number 3. So this is a last. So this occurs when people who need to make decisions are waiting. Okay, so let's see the final results. And the podium, number 3, Bill is number 3.
It is a game. Sante, it is a game.
Who is Triza? Okay, Triza Mukui. All right, congratulations, Triza. Prize for Triza will be a 3-month guidance and mentoring session with me. I would connect with you at your time, and then we would conversations on any goals that you have set, and I will guide you through goal setting and achieving results to help you become a better leader and a better person. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chinedum.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Final word
For
to
some
all
who
of you.
doesn't know.
LBD is here for you.
All right, sir.
Pass the message around. Committed in what you do with LBD. It's for your future, and you will achieve that aim that you have joined the group for. Thank you all very much, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you. God bless
Sir, you
you.
too.
All right. I'm
Thank
out.
you, sir. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Is that through the
All right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.